Charleston County Sheriff Al Cannon has been the sheriff of Charleston County for 32 years. Now he's asking residents of Charleston County to give him 4 more years. I speak exclusively with the sheriff for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook.
Sheriff Al Cannon, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Quintin, good to be with you, pal.
Thank you so much. Obviously, there's a race right now for Charleston County Sheriff between yourself and Christian Graziano.
Right.
And from the people that I've talked to over the past couple of days, it seems like you are in a fight for your political life. How do you see that?
Well, I think anytime you have opposition, you run the risk. There are no guarantees.
Okay.
And so I'm approaching this, I think, the right way that I should, and that is talking about what I've done and what we've done in the sheriff's office since I've had responsibility to it.
What exactly have you done over the past, say, 10 years?
Well, I've been the sheriff for 32 years,
right.
And in 1990, the voters voted to abolish the county police
right.
and put it under the sheriff, so I became responsible for that. Taking that problem agency and with all the employees, turning it around. And so we have developed into, with a lot of work from a lot of people, into a highly respected law enforcement agency and detention facility side of the house. And so some of the things, some of the questions and survey that I've been asked to respond to, they say, for example, would you consider writing someone a ticket for simple possession of marijuana instead of putting them in jail?
Okay.
We've been doing that for 5 years or so. See?
Yeah.
So, let's talk about mental health. That's a real challenge. We have worked with mobile crisis unit since the late 90s.
Oh, yes.
And so we have them on scene oftentimes when we have a situation like we had the other day down on Savannah Highway. Man, it was in the house.
Yeah.
So we have been receiving that kind of training and de-escalation. We've brought them in to help us. We now have a psychologist that's assigned to the sheriff's office, works with us every day and helps us deal with those situations. We have such a good relationship with the mental health folks that we have gotten and have been getting all kinds of training as it relates to dealing with folks who are in mental crisis. In fact, one of the things that we have done is, and this is not just the sheriff's office, but we have been on the lead edge, and any of those organizations will tell you that, of a lot of these things. But we now, rather than having requiring that the deputies transport somebody that's in the midst of a mental health crisis, EMS can do it. See, so we get on the scene, and they respond to some where there's no indication of violence.
Right.
Mobile crisis and/or EMS will respond to those, and they'll make decisions in conjunction with healthcare professionals that they have online, and they'll transport it themselves. So that in some instances, sheriff's office or the police departments aren't even involved in it, where there's no violence. So these are things that people are just now talking about, but we've been doing for years.
Wow.
We get significant training in dealing with mental health situations because of the relationship we have with the mental health folks. And in the new facility that we're in out on Leeds and Azalea, we have a significant area that allows us to sponsor or co-sponsor training or provide the facilities for training. So a lot of the agencies come to the sheriff's office to get training such as dealing with mental health folks. Now, you said last 10 years. Well, 5 or 6 years ago, we became aware of the existence of a grant in a private foundation And they were issuing a challenge to jails, detention centers all over the country.
Sure.
And it was aimed at identifying alternatives to incarceration. And so the Charleston County Sheriff's Office, I gave my folks the direction to apply for that. We got an initial grant.
Sure.
There were over 200 agencies in the country that competed for this. And then we were one of the 11 selected to receive initially $2.5 million, and then again a second $2.5 million because of what we were doing in studying the inmate population and what brought them into the jail to begin with, no source of who it is that's in there. And as an outgrowth of that, we've done a couple things. Number one, like I said, we have been citing and releasing for close to 5 years now on simple possession. If you've got somebody out there, because we found that's one of the biggest things that gets people in jail. They will be in charge with simple possession and nothing else and put in jail.
Yeah.
So today, very likely, they will be given a ticket, absent some other crime, you know, not counting a traffic violation. It may have been a traffic violation that resulted in the charge of simple possession. But now, all of the departments have the option of citing and releasing. Now, what does that mean? Well, let me tell you, back, and it's not solely a result of what we've done, but there used to be 33,000 people come through the jail each year. It's down now to around 15,000.
Wow.
And so we have cut admissions at the detention center almost in half by the things we've been doing. We also, because that grant had us create a criminal justice coordinating council with all of the folks involved in the justice system, with folks from the community and different groups that have some interest in the justice system. And we've done a number of other things. We have, and they've stopped this because of COVID, but we, with mental health, created a crisis stabilization center. So a police officer or deputy's out there, they encounter someone, they get a call about somebody that's acting strangely or whatever, and they get on the scene and they find that somebody is suffering some mental health issues, but they've not really committed any serious crimes. Okay, they may have committed some minor offenses, but what we do now is, again, it's closed because of the COVID, but we created this crisis stabilization center where police officers and deputies would have the option of taking a person there where they would be safe, secure, and immediately start getting some care and treatment, addressing some analysis of what their issues are, etc. We also have been working with DEOTAS, that's the drug and alcohol folks, to create a similar situation for like a sobering center. Now, we've not got the funds for that yet, but the idea would be the same, that police officers or deputies out here encounter someone who is under the influence of alcohol or on drugs, and it's obvious that they are inebriated either from alcohol or the drugs, but they're not really committing any serious crimes. Here again, the plan is we take those individuals to a sobering center, again, that the professionals are there and they start working with this individual when they're able to, and we take them there in both of those instances, the mental crisis situation as well as the substance abuse situation, rather than putting them in jail. So we have been doing those kinds of things. And these are the kinds of things now people are talking about that ought to be done, that we ought to find alternatives. We've done that. And actually, we had reduced the inmate population so dramatically at the beginning of the COVID thing, when we started looking to release people, we didn't have that many people we needed to release. And we have done an excellent job in containing the COVID within the detention center, and it's down very, very low right now. But it also demonstrates, the sheriff's office is accredited on the law enforcement side. It's an nationally accredited detention center.
Sure.
And the infirmary in the detention center is nationally accredited.
Right.
And it's the only detention center health infirmary in the state of South Carolina. DHEC certifies as an infirmary. One of the reasons we've gotten 2 of those fast testing devices that allow us, and we've been doing it for our inmates and staff, we've been doing it for area law enforcement agencies, out of county inmates that they bring to us, to be tested. The problem is, if you take a sample, it's only viable for about 10 minutes.
Right.
So, they can't take a sample in Georgetown and bring it down here. See? So they bring the inmate down, we test them, and within about 15 minutes, they know whether or not the individual has the virus.
Yeah.
So, but we're the only ones. I was talking to some of the doctors and nurses down at the Medical University, and they were saying how envious they were that we were able to get these fast turnaround testing devices, and they haven't been able to.
Wow.
But that's because of our record of having done that, done things for folks in other counties before.
Oh, yeah.
They knew that if they gave them to us, that we would be able to handle many of the jails and law enforcement down in the low country area.
Yes.
And we've done that. Historically, we have, because of the staff at the detention center, we have handled problem inmates that other counties don't feel they have the wherewithal to really effectively handle.
Yes, sir.
We've had individuals who have shot police officers or whatever, and those folks at that jail felt like they really were afraid to house that person in that county where that happened.
Sure.
And so they sent them down, and they call us, and we agree to house them for them. Or medical issues, because we don't, a lot of detention centers don't have the kind of medical wherewithal that we do. We've got negative pressure rooms, which come into play when you have something like the coronavirus.
Yes.
Now, one of the reasons we've been able to handle the coronavirus as well as we have is because we in the past have had tuberculosis outbreaks.
Right.
And so we've worked closely with DHEC. They know how we do, and tracing, doing all the tracing that you have to do. Because you obviously, a lot of times, in the 2 or 3 cases that I remember specifically, we didn't realize the person had TB until after they'd already gotten out of jail.
Wow.
So now we had to identify all the people that they had contact with and test all of them. So again, DHEC knew the kind of work we did.
Yes.
And gave us the equipment to do the kinds of things that they knew we were capable of doing.
And I know this camera battery is about to run out, and you have things to do as well, so I'm going to get back to you and get some more questions, and actually some more tough questions another day. But in 30 seconds, what exactly would you change if you were reelected?
Well, I think we're headed in the right direction. We've already done some things, like I say, that no more do we automatically ask somebody we've stopped for permission to search their car. We don't do that.
Okay.
We're not stopping cars with equipment violations unless there are serious safety issues involved in that. And we've also directed to our folks that if they smell marijuana on a traffic stop, no longer does that automatically give you the probable cause to search the car. Those are things that are very specific that we can do that affects the behavior, that eliminating that reduces the point of the flash points, the potential flash points that people complain about. The equipment violation stops, the searching, just automatically asking, those sorts of things cause problems out there on the street. So we've eliminated a lot of that.
As a matter of fact, let me ask you a couple of yes and no's, just yes and no.
Okay.
Ban chokeholds and strangleholds.
We've never used chokeholds and never trained it. So those are out.
Okay. Require de-escalation.
We've trained on that. That's part of the mental health training, but we've gotten that for years. We've brought nationally recognized folks in, like gentleman that teaches at the FBI Academy has come in a number of times, Quintin Williams, and I kept wanting to say Quintin Washington, but Quintin Williams, and he's done a tremendous job.
Yes, indeed. And duty to intervene.
That is a part of our policies.
Okay.
And we've emphasized that you can't just be a part of something. When you see something that's wrong, you've got to take steps to prevent it.
Ban shooting at moving vehicles.
There are some, we highly discourage it. There are some situations, and I'm not going to say absolutely you can't do it. There are some situations where that could be appropriate, and I'm leaving that because I'm going to tell you, you can't determine all of the factual settings out there that they may encounter. That's why even with the chokeholds, everybody says unless it is a direct threat to you personally, then you can use it because you're fighting. If it's a use of deadly force situation, you can do a chokehold.
Okay.
Right? But it's got to be that serious a situation. So same thing with shooting and moving cars. It's got to be a very serious type of situation where you can deviate from that.
Require verbal warnings before shooting.
Well, to the extent that you can, we do that already and have been doing it.
Random roadblocks stop citizens who haven't done anything wrong.
Well, driver's license checks and driving under the influence have been accepted practices to address those issues. If you look at the accidents rates, they have climbed back up some. They had dropped from about 55,000 when I got into law enforcement to around 35,000 as recent as 2011, 2012. But we see it creeping back up now, and we think it's related to the drugged driving situation.
Sheriff Al Cannon, thank you so much for your time, and again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Quintin, good to be with you, always.
Thank you.